Good morning, Mr. Andy Schectman. How have you been?
Chris, it's good to see you, brother. Happy New Year. Been too long, man. I've been good. Hope you have as well. And thanks for letting me back in the gym, man. Good to see you.
Absolutely, brother. We've got some stuff going on with gold, and Stacy's been talking about it, and we've been talking about it for a long time. She's like, "Man, you need to do a video with Andy on this because everything you've been talking about, we've been talking about, is starting to really show its head." Can you
That's
kind
the
of get
scary
into
part
the?
about it, Chris, is that these things are beginning to happen. There's a fine line, I always say, between conspiracy and reality. And you know, a lot of the stuff we saw over the last 4 years to me was almost well, I mean, a lot of people told us it was conspiratorial, the things that we would say, um, ranging from any way that you wanted to look at the president's son and his laptop, to the origins of the cerveza sickness, to Russia Gate, to all of the things that we had talked about, Burisma. And we find out more and more and more and more that these things are actually true. That's crazy. But when we begin to see the financial side of things unwind, where the mainstream would have said, what are you smoking? That could never happen. It starts to kind of crystallize everything that we've been talking about. And it just goes to show how divisive and how misguided and how far astray our media has gone from their original mission of kind of, being that unbiased bridge, if you will, between the public and the government, and between the public and Wall Street, and everything that we've heard, really, in one way or the other, seems to have been deceitful. So yeah, it is nuts, not only to see the things coming full circle with the way that Trump is dealing with the elections, the immigration, the judicial system. I've done 2 interviews with Kash Patel. The guy is as bright as they come. He looks right through your soul. He's a tough guy, and I couldn't be happier to get that kind of person, or these kind of people, into the positions where the whole culture had been literally whitewashed, and getting back to a meritocracy instead of one that is based upon a system based upon lifestyle. All of that stuff is amazing, and it's crazy to see it coming full circle. But what we're seeing with the financial side is stuff I don't know that I would have ever seen. I didn't think I ever would have seen some of this stuff. So, yeah, we should definitely get into it, because these are very interesting times, and maybe the most interesting I've ever seen in my career. And after what we saw the last 4 years, that's a hell of a statement, actually.
Um, so I guess the main buzzword around gold right now is the rehypothecation. I'd like to talk about that and get your take on it. And what does this actually mean? Let's dumb it down to where it's real, just simple and easy to understand. And what might happen, or what will happen after this thing really gets
Yeah,
into
I
full swing.
mean, rehypothecation is a way for, in this case, the commercial banks to lend, or to sell, rather, a specific contract that each person who holds that contract believes that they're the only one who owns it, but they sell it over and over and over and over and over again, repetitively, to different people. Because the thing of it is that, in this case, most of the contracts that have my whole career been issued on the Comex exchange, as an example, or on the LBMA, never stood for delivery. And so if everything cash settles and you're a bank with unlimited resources, the ability to cash settle if you need to really isn't much of a problem. But if you have to deliver against these naked contracts, which have been rehypothecated, you have a problem. In other words, they have, let's say, silver, each contract is rehypothecated 2,000%. That means 20 people hold the same 5,000 ounce contract. And if 5 of them say, well, I want to stand for delivery, there's a problem. What if all 20 say, I want to stand for delivery? There's a very big problem. So rehypothecation is the act of selling the same asset over and over and over again. It's a Ponzi scheme, and it's beginning to crack right now in many ways due to the massive standing for delivery. In fact, the February contract, Chris, was the largest delivery for a month ever in the history of the COMEX market. And that's something that shouldn't be understated. 59,296 gold contracts stood for delivery, each one being 100 ounces. That's 5,929,600 ounces of gold. The previous record in June of 2020 during QE to infinity was 47,132. We have a difference of 12,134 contracts, or over 1.2 million ounces of gold, was the next highest, lower than what we have here. I know that kind of came out wrong. It was
1 million was the highest,
less than this one, and that was the previous high of all time. This is something that you never see, these kind of deliveries. And so if indeed there were contracts that were sold naked short. So if I sell a contract short, if I have an ounce of 500 ounces or 100 ounces of gold in my warehouse and sell 100 ounces on COMEX, I'm a covered short. So if I had to deliver, I could. But if it's a naked short, I'm just speculating or betting that it goes the way that I want it to. If I sell short and you take the other end of it, you're going long, you could request delivery. And that's what we see happening right now, which is putting great strain on these contracts that have been rehypothecated, really with nothing standing behind it, and nor is there any metal here in New York, or there wasn't, in order to fulfill those deliveries. So that's kind of what it really means.
Hold that silver fight up one more time. Do we have any of those left?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We do.
I didn't think so. Those are
they
cool.
They are called just so you know, when you're looking for it, if you have clients that are looking for it. I don't know how many we have left. I might be able to give you an idea, but they are called 1 ounce silver bar Trump Fight for America.
Okay.
But we do have
several
them.
people.
We do have some.
Ask for them. And guys, for those of you that don't know, me and Andy Schectman have been friends a long time. But I used to buy my precious metals from Miles Franklin before I ever had a YouTube channel. And we just kind of me and Stacy rolled in and started being brokers for Miles Franklin 3 or 4 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And
some of the best people I've ever known in this industry, you and your wife, Stacy, in every way. It's an honor to work with you. It was an honor to work with you as a client. And I'll tell you, to this day, you may be the only client that ever transitioned to someone who I trusted to represent the company. And that's a tribute to you and your lovely wife. And, it's the honor's all ours.
Well, I appreciate that, Andy. It's easy to do business with good people that just want to do right. And it is an easy thing. It's hard to come by, but it
I appreciate
works out,
that, man. I do. And you know what? Like when I was 17 years old, I was a waiter once at a kind of a upscale restaurant. I did breakfast, and then I transitioned to dinner once they trusted me, but I'd never had any waiting experience at all. And I thought it was simple if you're organized, but simple because it's the golden rule. If you've ever eaten at a restaurant, you do what you would expect at a nice restaurant. And In other words, what I'm getting at is that a lot of things people overcomplicate. Running a business is to me about prioritizing the clients and doing the best you can. And when I think back upon 35 years of business, never having a material customer complaint, I can't believe it, because certainly we all screw up, and I have screwed up plenty in my career, but it's how you make it right and you stand by the customer and do all those things. And it's been my experience with Stacy, your wife, who is kind of the front-facing part of your joint efforts with Miles Franklin, where she's had to deal with problems too, and has always stood by her clients, and even if it meant to her detriment. I respect that, and that's how you run a business that finds a way to get repeat business. So, anyways, I appreciate the comment, and it is something that I take great pride in, and you guys have exemplified that yourselves. So, right back at you.
Well, thank you, brother. So we've kind of talked about rehypothecation. If anybody's doesn't know what the heck's going on, they've been lying to everybody for years, and now it's starting to come out. And if we do another record, and let's just say I do this a lot, if the problem doubles, if whatever happened doubles, which that's likely, that's going to be a big problem if they don't have the metal to ship out, and that's when it really gets gnarly.
Yeah,
The
and
repricing of gold I would like to talk about.
Yeah, and we will, because that's a big deal. But one last thing, just when we talk about rehypothecation, I guess a more technical way of explaining it would be brokers or banks post collateral that belongs to their clients and for their own needs. And this is common in financial markets and particularly in securities lending and margin trading. And this
what about
is
2008
Yeah.
GFC? That'd be a good example.
Well, yes, it is. And this is what the great taking is all about. In fact, the great taking, there was a lawsuit against JP Morgan during the great financial crisis in 08 that stood up to challenge. Basically, they changed the Universal Commercial Code, and the custodian who holds your securities, because they're all held at the DTCC, but they are allowed to pledge them, for example, in margin trading. And if the person who it was lent to goes bankrupt and there's a loss incurred, basically what it says is that the custodian has priority over you, the owner of the security. At least in your mind, you are subordinate to the custodian. And this is what, in essence, the great taking is. So whether it be rehypothecation in metals, which is massive on COMEX and the LBMA, or in securities where it's very frightening. And most people haven't watched The Great Taking, I would strongly suggest it. You can go to thegreattaking.com, read David Rogers Webb's book, or go to YouTube and type it in, and he actually narrates it for you. It's about an hour to listen to. But the term rehypothecation, while very few understand it now, Chris, my feeling is that before this is all said and done, more and more people will painfully understand what rehypothecation truly is. And these laws would not have been put into place and stood challenge and won if for not there to be a purpose for them, kind of like bail-in legislation. So few people know about it, but it's law. We just saw the first one in Lindsay, Oklahoma last October. Will there be more? My guess is yes. So anyways, enough